And I have my like laptop setup, so if we want to pull up any brands, it's available.
Sweet.
Let me see. I know sometimes chat has delay, so I'm gonna open up the actual box. Well, it says people are watching, so it was like, oh, we have a few people in here. They might not be commenting, but I don't know. Do we want to just pretend like we have an audience?
Yeah, that always works.
Lives are weird when you're not an established person like the half cousins or Georgia. Oh, I see people now. Hi, Emily inside the makeup drawer, and Nicole. Welcome.
Welcome.
Alex, would you like to introduce yourself since you're coming to the channel?
Yeah, sure. My name is Alex, and I have a Instagram account that I have started doing for a couple of years now. I'm probably going to change the name soon, but for right now, my Instagram handle is @sincerelyalex_makeup. And yeah, I've been watching beauty YouTube for a really, really long time, probably since middle school, and I'm currently 24. And I've been, loving Emily's channel for a really long time now, and it's so cool that I have a chance to stream with her. We actually recently did a collab last week where we each picked out 5 shadows, one from each of the Kaleidos Futurism palettes. So Emily picked out 5 for me, I picked out 5 for Emily, and I think your look turned out so good. Like, I still go back to your post and I'm like loving on it, and I'm just like, I wish I could be like as just freeform as you are with your eyeshadow, because I thought that your look turned out fantastic.
Yeah, thank you. Just playing. I mean, I feel like that's like the thing I say all the time. I'm like, just play with your makeup. The worst that can happen, if it's not a work day, the worst that can happen is that you just wash it off and try again.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were like, oh, we should stream together. And I was like, yes, let's do it, since you have your Instagram, but not a YouTube. But yeah, you've been on Half Cousins and on Georgia's channel last night. That was fun.
That was
so random. So we were kind of just talking about like single eyeshadows, because you brought up last night repressing shadows.
Yeah.
And I feel like that was like the spark where I was like, oh, we could talk about singles and indie makeup and whatever people wanted us to talk to. Hi, Angel. Welcome.
Hello.
Hi, Wake Up for Makeup. I'm doing good. It's kind of a chill day here. A weird day a little bit, but good.
Yeah. I feel like you said it best the other day, where it's like, it feels like every day is a weird day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But I'm doing okay. Today is the first day since, when's the last time that I put makeup on? I think it was Friday, because Saturday my whole thumb injury happened. And so today was the first day that I was like, let me attempt to do somewhat of like a lighter makeup. I wasn't going to dare go near my liquid eyeliner with my thumb like this, even though I love doing liquid eyeliner so much. But yeah, things have been pretty okay today. My boyfriend, he works pretty close to my house, which is pretty ironic because my job is like a really far commute, and then he happens to work really close to where I live. And he got off work around lunchtime. And yesterday when I saw him, I told him that I really, really wanted pizza. I don't know why. I just got like a mad hankering for some pizza. And so I texted him today and I was like, hey, what time are you off work? And he said like around noon. And so I was like, can you please pick up a pizza for me on your way home? I was like, I will order it. I will Venmo you for the pizza. Just please, please, please get pizza in my life right now. So yeah, so he brought me back a pizza from Extreme Pizza. I don't know if you guys have that in New York.
No.
It's very good. Some of their stuff is pretty good. They have a vegetarian pizza that's called what is their name for it? Drag It Through the Garden, which is a fun thing. You can imagine it has a lot of vegetables in it, and it's how I justify eating pizza. It's like, well, there's all these vegetables on top, so it's okay.
Pizza's always a good choice, though.
Yeah.
But it's funny when you're like, I just need it. I have a craving.
Yeah. That was one of those things. Like yesterday, I made that stir fry that I told you about, the one that I made at Trader Joe's. Oh, it's so good. I had it, and I had some pot stickers and wontons that I like stir fried in the pan, and I was cooking them in the middle of Georgia's live stream yesterday, and I had to step away. So I was like, Mom, can you please watch these because I don't want them to burn? And the water ended up evaporating, but they had like that nice golden crunchiness on the bottom.
It's
perfect. So I was eating my wontons and my pot stickers and my stir fry all while watching the live stream yesterday. So it was like pizza was like, yes, let's keep the good feelings train going here with food.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And hi, Kerosene. She just said, I 100% relate to having mad pizza cravings. Yeah. It's kind of a go-to for takeout for me. Not all the time, but when I want it, I don't feel bad getting it. But lately I've just been like, maybe I'll make pizza at home. I could do that. I mean, I've made it before. I could do it again. It's kind of a project, but I've done worse.
So. Yeah. Whenever you've made it, do you feel like do you feel more satisfied? Like, is the experience of making the pizza like and eating it as enjoyable as just getting it takeout?
Well, it's two different things completely. Also, usually when I make it at home, I make more of like a deep dish or pan style pizza. Whereas when I order it, I'll get like, New York style is all like thinner, chewier, whatever. So it just depends. It depends. But I don't know. Sometimes it's like, it's worth the effort. And then sometimes I'm like, yeah, I wish I just ordered takeout. So.
Yeah. Oh, I did have a question for you. I know that I posted it to your community tab, but I figured since I have you right here, right now, I can just ask you, what have you found to be like a good, like what flour alternative is the best if you're talking like gluten-free varieties? So like tapioca, cassava, all that stuff.
So I still am going to do that video. I'm probably going to maybe I'll film it tomorrow or the next day. But the thing that I found with gluten-free baking is that you kind of need a blend. You can't always just get one flour and it act the same as all-purpose flour, because basically generally all flours, some have more protein and some have more like body or heft to them. And so a lot of times, with gluten-free, basically you're trying to recreate like the stretch that gluten creates, and sometimes you have to do multiple flours. So like getting a blend, like buying 3 different varieties and mixing them up, and you could keep that blend pre-mixed and just use it. So like I know people have done like, I mean, I think it depends, and I can definitely I was going to look up some different recommendations of like how to pair, because it's overwhelming to be like, well, I have to buy like 5 or 6 things just to make one gluten-free thing. But it also depends. If you're doing something like brownies, you can kind of get away with like not having to do a full-out blend. But if you want something like, I would say a cake or probably cookies or bread, you're going to have to mix it up a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. I attempted to make, there was a recipe that I did around Valentine's Day.
Mhm.
I really like using the Trader Joe's gluten-free all-purpose flour for a
Yeah.
lot of stuff because I know that it is a blend as what you were saying. But the problem is that with anything, you have items that you can make from it that are better suited for that mixture. So
Yeah.
it's really easy for me to get away with using it to make something like apple crisp, where it's like
Mhm.
crumbly and it's kind of meant to be dry and kind of crunchy,
Yeah.
versus like I tried using it in a recipe that I saw on Instagram where someone made strawberry bread as opposed to like
Mhm.
banana bread, but you
Okay.
still have it's like strawberry banana bread, but
Yeah.
you still have like I don't know what went wrong. It might have been that it gave like a generic measurement of like 3 bananas, but it had in parentheses that you had to have a certain cup's worth of
Yeah.
mashed bananas to add that moisture back into your mixture. And I don't think I had ripe enough bananas, and I don't think I had enough bananas because that bread turned out so dry and so like rock hard
Yeah.
that I had to just take the L. I had to admit to myself that maybe the gluten-free flour was not the right idea for that recipe.
Well, there's 3 main things that came to mind when you said that. One, was it a gluten-free recipe that you were
No.
using, or was okay. 2, yes, the amount of bananas will depend. If you ever don't have ripe bananas, put your bananas in the freezer and they'll get that mushy ripe texture pretty much in a couple hours.
Mhm.
Maybe overnight, but faster than ripening by nature. And 3, I don't always trust Instagram recipes. Like I honestly don't just go to any old food blog for a recipe.
Yeah.
Like I have made enough bad food or looked at enough, and because I've edited recipes like in my jobs, I've looked at enough recipes that I'm like, nah. Like I can't always see it, but sometimes I can. And
Yeah.
any of those videos that look like they are too good to be true are too good to be true. Any of
Mhm.
these like tasty 5-minute crafts, like cooking hack videos, no. There's actually a really good YouTube channel. Let me see if I can look it up. She cuts through the spoofs of these like 5-minute crafts and all these terrible channels because she's a professional baker and she's like done a lot of stuff on her own channel, and she'll go through and recreate their recipes and see how bad it fails, and it's
Mhm.
really depressing. Also, I see Barry came in. Hi, Barry.
Hi.
And Kara was saying, I can't stop cooking. I'm trying to impress my husband and prove to him I can do more than grilled cheese. Well, there's
Relate.
nothing wrong with grilled cheese. Like, grilled cheese is great. But
Yeah.
yes. And um, hey, that's a good combination. Wake up and make it. My husband is a cook and I clean up the mess. I would love to have somebody in my life to just clean up my mess.
That's totally a fair trade. I mean, my boyfriend and I mean, it's so funny that we just like gotten off on this talking about cooking.
Yeah, no, I'm always good with that.
My
Makeup and cooking are like 2 of my biggest hobbies. So
yeah, my boyfriend and I we decided that we wanted to try and start getting better at like cooking together because my mom like my mom's side of the family like can throw down in the kitchen, and so that's why I feel like an immense amount of pressure to try and like like get practice at it, kind of like what Kara was saying, like proving to yourself and to other people that you are capable of surviving and making food for yourself. So I feel like I don't know, we decided I got him a cookbook for Christmas, and I ended up getting a cookbook for myself after
yeah.
listening to a podcast, and I got one of the Thug Kitchen cookbooks.
Okay.
And I know it's a little bit controversial. I didn't know that it was controversial until after I bought the cookbook. But anyways, I figured, you know what? A vegan cookbook sounds really niche, but I have yet to make any of the recipes. But there is a recipe that has my attention that I would have made if I was still having a birthday party at the end of the month. But because of everything going on,
Yeah.
I'll probably just make it for myself. But basically, it's like a recipe for making vegan nacho cheese.
Okay.
with like potatoes, carrots, and like probably nutritional yeast and a bunch of other stuff. And I thought to myself, you know, Lacey understands the obsession with Taco Bell nacho fries being.
I do too.
They're so good.
They are so delicious.
Yeah.
My top 2 favorite trash foods are both from Taco Bell, and they are the Taco Bell nacho fries and the Taco Bell watermelon freeze. They would do it for the summer. I don't know if they'll bring it back, but like every summer they would. It's like their frozen fruit, you know, frozen drinks.
Yeah.
But I love fake and real watermelon flavor. So those are like my top 2 favorite trash foods.
Yeah.
So you're on the hunt to recreate it as a vegan dish?
Yeah. So I was thinking to myself, like, I could, because my aunt has an air fryer. And oh my God, it is so life changing. And I've only used it like maybe twice, but I used it each time to make like chicken. Like I made chicken wings for Super Bowl. We had people over for the Super Bowl, and I made these chicken wings. Surprisingly, they were from an Instagram recipe that wasn't total shit. And they were delicious. They were so good. They had you basically like marinate, and I accidentally did chicken wings. Apparently the recipe was for chicken strips, but it turned out fine. Like the concept was pretty much the same. But basically you take chicken wings and you marinate them in pickle juice overnight. And it's that really good like vinegary tang, makes the chicken really juicy. And then you basically dredge them in a mixture of you dredge them in flour like normal, and then you take a bag of lime tortilla chips and you crush them up and you use that as the coating to get them nice and crunchy. And oh my God, they were so
They sound amazing.
I made like several rounds because I got 2 packs of chicken wings, and I just kept pulling them out of the jar. I'm like, oh my God, when is this gonna end? And so I made like 4 batches, and every time they flew. They were so good. And then I made a different recipe that was also from Instagram to make these chicken tenders from Trader Joe's using their everything but the elote seasoning. So like the seasoning, and then you coat them with basically like Fritos that they sell at Trader Joe's that have a
I've had those
to them. Yeah, they were really good. They had the strips have a little bit of a kick to them, so the chicken strips had a little bit of a kick to them. And yeah, that was like as soon as I like get my own place, like I'm getting an air fryer because it's like
that's amazing. I also want to say hi to Audra. And Sophie asked, is this going to be baking or swatching? Well, it might be a little bit of both. We just kind of got onto a cooking kick, but Alex and I feel like talk about that quite a bit. And visions of you. I use Pinterest recipes. Pinterest has subfolders to organize. The nice thing with Pinterest recipes is, I mean, Pinterest is basically, well, not always, but sometimes just pinning from other people's sites. Adopt It, Don't Shop says, Emily, you should do cooking videos if you ever have some free time. My kitchen setup is just not. I'm testing I'm going to test the waters with the cooking Q&A, but I don't feel like my kitchen, which is back here, is like the best space to film. There's very little counter space, and what I need is like a little island that I can use. So it's tricky. I've tried even doing like overhead shooting, kind of like what I do with my swatch videos, and it's just all very tricky. But I think about it. I'm trying to do more like on Instagram when I can.
Yeah, I really liked your Instagram story the other day of the eggs that you showed.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite recipes. Oh my gosh, I love those eggs. Oh, Angel, man, I wish there was a Trader Joe's here. Trader Joe's is a good one. It's a little like, I'm like, it's a little overhyped. It is, but they have good stuff too.
Yeah, they're really affordable too.
Hey, Chris. And Kara said that she's never had Taco Bell. I don't know if now is the time to start. I have a soft spot for it because I'm a trash person and like I have some fast food love and some junk food love. But being a full grown adult, trying Taco Bell for the first time might not go well. If you're drunk though, if you're ever drunk, that might be where I'd recommend trying it first.
Yeah.
Although which high V was like, you should DoorDash you some Taco Bell. I don't know. It has its time and place. But I'm gonna link in the so there's one of my favorite like food people that I follow. She actually used to have a bakery in Brooklyn. Her name's Allison Robicelli. I put it in the chat and I'll try to remember to send it to you separate.
Mm-hmm.
She's been writing for the site The Takeout, and she has done some Instant Pot recipes, and she just recently got an air fryer and has been posting a bunch of really amazing looking air fryer recipes.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to look for some that are a little adventurous, I would recommend her. She was like a former pastry chef, former savory chef. So like she knows her shit in terms of how to make things.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, she did like bomboloni donuts in the air fryer recently, and those looked amazing.
Yeah, I think for me, like it's hard because I love food a lot. Like my mom was very big into going to restaurants when I was growing up because she used to work in the city, and it was really easy when I would go and I used to go to her work like every day after school because my grandpa worked the night shift, and he would take me into the city with him because he worked a few blocks away. And so I used to go to so many different restaurants as a kid, and we have this like running joke in my family that I had like the palate of an adult as a kid. And I just had like a huge appreciation for food ever since I was younger, and I always wished that I was as good at cooking as my mom. Yeah. But I mean, you have to start somewhere, and I think for me it's just been easiest to follow like food blogs and Instagram accounts, and if I see something that looks and sounds appetizing, to try to follow a recipe to get those skills to be able to develop them over time.
Yeah, I think my best thing that I recommend and what helped me is like finding one or two people who I've made a recipe from them. It's turned out well. I like it and I trust it, and then working from their recipes.
Yeah.
So like one of my favorite pastry people, Stella Parks, she like I have this obsession with making homemade marshmallows. I basically made my best marshmallows based on her recipe. Mm-hmm. If I want cookies, if I want pudding, if I want cake, I'm going to her first. And then I'm like, okay, I know this recipe. I can decide if I want to go off and try somebody else's, because like she's pretty adventurous with what she cooks. So it's not like she only has 4 recipes. Like she has like hundreds of recipes. So finding and like Smitten Kitchen, who has like was like the original food blogger and still food blogs to this day. Like she's another person I'll go to. So I just have found like some people that I know I trust their recipes, and I can go to their site and like dig around and find something. But sometimes just like going on random food blogs, people just don't do a good job writing recipes. And then if you fail, then you feel shitty about it, when the reality is that it might be their fault or a little bit of both. So
yeah,
it's tricky when you're like getting to know what you want to learn to cook, what you like doing, what maybe you're not as good at doing. It's a kind of learning curve at first.
Yeah. What was you made marshmallows not that long ago? Weren't they like, were they pickle or tangerine or something citrusy?
I used orange. I had mandarin oranges, but oranges. Yeah, orange zest.
Oh, it sounds so good.
I love making them. I don't know. There's something about the texture. It's just like nothing that I feel like you have anywhere else. And they take well. So that was the thing, is that I found that they took well to lots of different flavors. So then I could, once I knew the recipe, I could kind of make it and break it to the way I wanted to. So everybody that's like, I'm afraid of baking because like I like to be able to riff. I'm like, learn the rules of something and then you can riff on it and play with it. Yeah. But if you don't know the rules, if you don't understand the structure of the thing, you can't just like play around and expect it to turn out good. So.
Did you want to transition to single shadow talk?
I was just noticing Kay just said she learned to cook from a vintage Fanny Farmer cookbook when I was in high school. Yeah, I didn't learn to cook from but my mom had a church cookbook from like a Quaker church that was like her go-to for a lot of basic recipes. I feel like I learned from like Alton Brown. I mean, all that era of Food Network and then food blogs has been like my 1-2 punch.
Yeah.
And yes, I guess we can talk about single shadows. Food and makeup. What's more fun? Exactly. Makeup. Food and makeup is the way to my heart.
Totally.
Okay. Well, did you have anything in particular you wanted to talk about, or do we want to ask for questions, or?
I guess I can start a little bit about like how I got into them and stuff. So what I remember in terms of single shadows and magnetic palettes, I think, like I said earlier, I've been watching YouTube for a really long time. And I remember the times where people were talking about the single pan eyeshadows from MAC a lot, and then consequently talking a lot about Makeup Geek and their single shadows. And I remember wanting to experiment with a lot of those like really well-known shades, but it just seemed so much easier to have like smaller palettes. So I remember, I can't remember I think my very first, like, I think I started wearing makeup my freshman year of high school, and my mom got me like a bunch of little things like as a starter kit. So, and she was into, my mom for the longest time was someone who religiously used Clinique products, like their pressed powder foundation. That was her go-to because they were like hypoallergenic, non-comedogenic, and she always struggled with adult acne. And so she definitely got me on the train of using like a lot of Neutrogena products. So I had like a powder foundation from Neutrogena that I used that was like part of their healthy skin line.
Yeah.
And some like Almay shadows. So like Neutrogena and Almay and like a little bit of CoverGirl was like my main starter kit when it came to eyeshadows. And then I remember my first high-end shadow palette was oh god, I still have it.
Hi, Terra, and hi, Cherokee.
Oh, bye.
Say hi and bye.
Okay.
Hi, Cherokee. Bye, Kara. Okay.
Yeah. So I watched like Blair Fowler and Elle Fowler were like two of the first like beauty people that I watched. And I remember Blair talking about the original like 9-pan Too Faced palettes that still came in the cardboard packaging. I actually still have mine, so I probably will reach over and get them. But that was my first high-end eyeshadow palette, was the Too Faced Naked Eye palette. And I had the original one, the one that had the little pull-out drawer for the applicator in it. And I remember really liking it. And then my mom and I and my aunt shared a lot of makeup because we would get ready in the same bathroom and stuff in the morning. And so we slowly transitioned into using like the Naked palette. We got it for like a gift and we all kind of like used it and stuff. And then it wasn't until I was in college that I actually got more into the idea of doing like collecting singles, because before ColourPop ever did their pressed powder palettes that they have now, they had come out with pressed powder singles. And I remember that was a huge deal back in 2017. At the time, they had only had Super Shocks. And I decided to place an order like in the spring of 2017, when they had their spring collection, and it came out in 3 different phases. I don't know if you ever remember that, but they had like,
if I saw pictures of it, I'd probably remember what you're talking about. Because I wasn't buying ColourPop. I bought some, but I didn't buy their early powder shadows.
Yeah, they had 3 different. This was like when I started getting into like the monochromatic look, because they actually did they had a collection called their monochromatic collection for spring 2017 that they released in 3 phases. So they had their like pink collection, they had their sand collection, which was a bunch of neutral shades, and then they had their nectar collection. And so that one was the one where you had like these bright neon corals and peachy shades, and those colors were always my jam. And so that was like my first foray into single shadows, because they had these little 4-pan palettes where you could depot
Mhm.
them and you would get like basically 4 singles out of it. And I collected all 3 of those, and then I started getting into collecting more of them because I love that you could rearrange them, and I'm like, oh my god, what have I done? It's having way too much fun with single shadows that way.
Yeah, I found I remember this let's see, can I do this? No, how do I do this?
Yes.
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 I remember that because I remember the little 4 pans. I thought that was a great size. I thought the blush duo was great, but I wasn't buying I think maybe at that time I had bought some of their Super Shock shadows, but I don't know what I was into at that moment. I feel like for me, my first singles were Coastal Scents. I remember I went and bought one MAC single shadow. I bought Nylon because I thought it was going to be like, I've always been super, for a long time, I've been really like obsessed with a really bright inner corner. And I thought Nylon was going to be like the one because
Yeah,
every beauty guru was talking about it.
totally.
And I think I was probably too cheap or didn't too intimidated by MAC to buy more shadows because the whole attitude in MAC stores always just overwhelms me.
Oh,
And like, so I think I went in and got one of those and maybe a couple of empty palettes. But then I think Coastal Scents was like the first brand that I bought a lot of. Like I'd been hearing about Makeup Geek and of course MAC, but I don't know why with Makeup Geek. I don't think I was deep into makeup then. I was into it, but I wasn't. I was into it and I was watching YouTube back then, but I think I might have been dabbling more in palettes then. But I don't even remember if I can. The first high end palette I can really think of was the Gwen Stefani Urban Decay palette. That was probably the first one. I know I've had some before then, but that was the first one that I was like, I want this. I need it. I need to get it.
yeah.
Like obsessed about it because I was a big fan of Gwen from a really young age. And that was like right on the cusp where I feel like she went from like being someone cool that I looked up to being like, I don't really care about her anymore. But that palette was the one that I was like, I need that in my life.
Yeah.
And then I'm pretty sure Coastal Scents I heard of because of Angelica Nyquist. I'm pretty sure she talked about them because she said that they were like a good, basically cheap. They were pretty good for their price. In terms of their formula. Yeah, I think that was the first shadow purchase that I did.
Yeah. Speaking of MAC, you just reminded me. My aunt, my mom's younger sister, she had for one of her birthdays, I remember she got a little makeup trunk case, like a makeup carrying case from Sephora. And that was the first time that I'd ever even heard of Sephora because I had never been into one. Any experience that I'd had with beauty products was either drugstore stuff or department store stuff because, like I said, my mom was into Clinique. And so I didn't know anything about these like specialty makeup stores like Sephora, definitely not Ulta. I only ever heard about Ulta because I was watching YouTube. We didn't have an Ulta near us. And then later on, they did end up building one that was close by. So that was an experience. But my aunt had this carrying case from Sephora and she had so many like her and my mom had probably like at least 30 or 40 pot MAC eyeshadows, like potted singles. And I remember
that was like the worst format ever in my
opinion.
It is. Single potted shadows.
Yes.
So much space so this is Nylon. Because I have all my singles over here. Like there's like 6 times as much space used up for one of these pans. Yeah.
And so I remember thinking like, this is really bulky packaging. And this is like before I ever went down the rabbit hole of depotting or anything like that. I can't even remember what the first like video of depotting MAC singles was for me. But I just remember, like, what? People are using flat irons to do what? Like, why would you go through all of this work? But then it, like, finally clicked. Like, okay, yeah, this is pretty excessive packaging otherwise.
And when it clicks, if you're one of those people, it really clicks.
Yeah.
I feel like Georgia she wasn't the first. I can't say she was the first person that I saw depotting, but I feel like she was one of the first people that I saw that was really, really like, I'm going to depot it, whether or not anyone that's watching is happy that I'm depotting it. Like, she would just do it. And I really appreciated that because it made me realize that, like, makeup can be fixed. Makeup is just powder. It's just colorful dirt. Oh, wait, I just noticed that Emily inside the makeup drawer just purchased some Cleona, JD Glow, and Davina. Ah,
Holy Trinity.
I'm so excited for you. Yes, that's an amazing combination.
Yeah.
That's so exciting.
I was going to say to Georgia yesterday when she was talking about, because I did say that I got into more depotting stuff because of Georgia's old videos.
Yes.
And, like, it's such a shame that, you know, like, other people can't see it anymore. But I distinctly remember her depotting the Saint and Sinner palette.
Yes.
She, like, did half neutral and the other side colorful, and my mind was like, that was so much effort, but it was so satisfying to watch. Yes. And the fact that she, like, cut out the squares with the different colors so you could see where they were in the palette, I'm like, that's genius. That's so much work, but it looks so much better.
Yeah, that was like that was when my brain, I think, really clicked that, like, I like my color stories, generally speaking, especially if it's a big palette, I like them to be, like, in order. Like, I don't want to say monochromatic because that's not what it is, but, like, in a gradient.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, when she did that whole process, my mind was blown. I was just like, oh, she went right in and just did it. And it made it such a better product to me, but I would have never. I bought that palette and I, like, swatched it and played with it and then returned it because I was just like, this is too expensive for the quality. I can't. I have to. And the arrangement annoyed me, so I was just like, no, not for me.
Yeah.
But Georgia almost made me want it for me.
Yeah. Do you remember do you remember the first, like, indie single shadows that you acquired?
I think the very first indie ones that I acquired, I think, were Luxie Beauty, because, again, I found them through Angelica, and I feel like they were one of the first or one of the only brands that was, like, available, and they've always been pretty affordable. But I will say the first batch of their shadows that I got, I don't really love. I got one of their summer collections either at the same time or right after I got some of their first shadows. And the summer collection I liked, but a lot of their shimmers are like, they're like glitter suspended in shimmer, but they're not really glittery. They're like lightly glittery. But some of the ones I've gotten in the last year have improved, but they're not a top favorite for me. They were like a good introduction. Mm-hmm. So I think probably some of the first that I really worked with were my depotted Juvia's Place palettes, because I got into this whole thing of, like, I'm gonna depot all my Juvia's palettes, and I did, and I had this, like, really pretty colorful 2-sided Adept palette, but then that changed because I dropped the palette.
Oh no.
Well, I left it out and my cats decided that it was playtime.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I remember that.
And it hit the floor, and my tile floor takes no prisoners. So, yeah. Oh, Lydia, Sydney Grace was your first indie singles. That's a good brand to start with. Sydney Grace matte and shimmer formulas are top notch. And I forget about them. They're so good.
Yeah. I actually still have yet to use the one that you sent me in the little package. But oh my god, when I swatched it was so nice.
Yeah.
It was such a nice, like, smooth application for that light of a green. I can't wait to use it.
Well, same with, so one of my favorite colors, and I actually I have a lot of blue shadows, even though blue is not actually one of my favorite colors, but Perfect Storm from Sydney Grace. Sydney Grace is like one of the most beautiful shadows, and it just goes on. I mean, it's very, very light at first, but it goes on so smooth and it blends out. And you would think, okay, blue eyeshadow on, skin tone, that's not going to blend very well, but it builds and it blends. It's a really gorgeous color.
Yeah.
I think they're spectacular. And their website though is, I have a hard time navigating it sometimes. So I think that's one reason why I haven't bought from them as much.
Yeah, their Danny's Dream bundle really drew me in. I didn't have anything that was even remotely close to that mix of like spring grassy greens and these like very, very light, kind of murky sage tone greens. They're absolutely beautiful. And I thought about getting one of their pre-made palettes, but neither of the pre-made palettes have a color story that speaks to me. Like the more recent one that they did, the Endless Love one, I didn't really care for the color story on that one. And then the Autumn's Rain also just seemed kind of okay. So I probably would be better off just getting a handful of singles that really draw me in and are unique to my collection if I was going to make an order from them. But yeah.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, yeah, no. All I was going to say was ColourPop was my first like foray into something that was more on the indie side. And this was, like I said, back in 2017. They weren't in Ulta yet. They weren't. Oh, does anyone remember like that fever dream experience of them being at Sephora for like a hot minute?
Yeah. And it was like an instant tank.
Yeah. I mean, but then again, the collection that they released for Sephora for the holidays was whack. Like the Golden State of Mind palette was just really uncooked chicken looking. And I just felt like everything was just kind of weird. Like where is the normal creativity that they would put in their normal line?
Yeah, and it was also like a higher price point. I'm just gonna say hi to Naomi. She just got here. Welcome. Yeah, it was like all this like crystal. I mean, it was before crystals were popular, but it was, or before they were more popular. But it was all these like metallic, like New Year's Eve colors, which in some way makes sense, but it just felt like it was so off what we knew ColourPop for.
Yeah, they were all very desaturated colors. So like if they're gonna make these really nice metallics, like make them a little bit richer is what
I mean, in store, I remember touching it and it was like fine, but it was repetitive too. It's like getting a neutral palette that has like 3 or 4 of the same shades duplicated. It was like, there's a gold and there's a slightly different gold and there's a bronze and a slightly different bronze. It's like, I don't need 15 of these colors.
Yeah, they're Super Shock shadows. I actually tried them out in a foursome that they had with the Nectar collection. And immediately I was like, this is such a cool texture. I know why so many people really like them. They're very like slick and balmy. And if you get the metallic ones, they're really, really beautiful. The matte ones, I think there was maybe one satin that was included in the set. I didn't really get much use out of that one, but that was kind of like my first foray into something indie. And then I think after that, I think I mostly stuck to palettes for the most part after I got a ton of like ColourPop singles. I don't think I ever ordered anything from like a true indie, like when you're thinking about like real smaller brands, until I ordered my Divina Sugar Drops bundle, and this was like last year. So I'm kind of like dipping my toes into it a little bit more. Last year I got the Creepy Cute palette around my birthday, so that's like technically indie as well. I wish that the packaging was magnetic, because I know we totally connect with that with magnetic packaging. I wish that they did that, because I ended up destroying my Creepy Cute palette to try to depot it. But I did that, and then I just got my Terra Moons order, so like that felt good, like supporting another smaller indie brand, and the products are just spectacular. Can't wait to use them.
I feel like I was just trying to look up, Veronica might pop on camera. I was trying to look up to see. Okay, so it looks like my Looksy order, my very first one, was June of 2018. And I did get the summer collection then. That was when they did like this. I still have them in my collection. A really amazing, vibrant, shimmering pink and yellow. But that's also when I got some of the shimmers that are just not very good. And since then, I'd ordered one more time with them. I've done 2 Cleona orders. I've definitely done 2 Davina orders. Um, JD Glow, 1 big order. That's my thing, is like if I find a brand that I'm excited to try, I tend to buy a lot. Like the Looksy order, the first one that I did. 1, 2, 3.
I agree with you. Wake Up for Makeup. ColourPop is definitely a better fit in Ulta than it was with Sephora.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah. And I just feel like Sephora failed at like capturing what ColourPop is.
Yeah.
And it's like now I've noticed ColourPop, they've been like bumping up their prices, you know, almost well, I don't know if every release, but regularly. But when they went into Sephora, they had a specific price bump, like the palette, the spray, or the lip kits. It was all like a little bit more expensive. And everyone that knew ColourPop was like, no. Like, I see what you're doing here. Like, just
Yeah.
because it's accessible in Sephora now doesn't mean I want to spend more money for it.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like Sephora having The Ordinary. That to me isn't really a fit. Like, The Ordinary, I feel like belongs more at Ulta than Sephora.
Yeah. I think for me too, it's like, I think about, like, we're talking about prices, and
Yeah.
I know that pricing with a lot of more affordable, whatever that is, it's a very relative term. For more affordable brands, I can understand that it's hard for them to remain at a competitive price point while still being able to make enough profit to continue innovating. So I understand that sometimes things have to be priced a little bit differently as you go along. Like, I don't know, like the Terra Moons iridescent chameleons, talking about wish list stuff. I know that they're at the top of your wish list.
The Terra Moon iridescent ones, yeah.
Yeah, no. They're $17 each. And I would not have even considered paying the full price if it wasn't for Amy's affiliate code. And the fact that they're on sale right now, I don't know how much of a discount it is, like if it's the same discount that you would get with an affiliate code, but I can only imagine.
I think it's like 15% is the sale.
Yeah.
And they've said that that's like the most that they would be able to discount those specific items.
Yeah. So like I understand now that I have a little bit more perspective on smaller independently owned brands and the cost that goes into producing your own things, like 1-person, 2-person operations, I can understand the pricing of things like that being a little bit higher. But when you have a company like ColourPop that has such a huge like operation going on under the same roof, and the fact that they are able to stay so affordable, a part of you makes you do a double take. Like, is this price jump because it's an improved formula that requires more money and more innovation behind it? Yeah. Or is it just because maybe you have more staff and you need to pay more people because you're producing things at such a high pace? You'd have to wonder.
Well, and I always like I tend to, I mean, you know me, I'm critical, and I think with ColourPop, like I look at specifically with them, I look at an example of like their Jelly Much eyeshadows, which looked beautiful when I first saw them like launch, but I never bought one. And then like less than a year after they released, I started seeing people decluttering them because they were drying up. Those are $8 each.
Yeah.
Those potted eyeshadows are $8 each. That seems like a lot of money compared to a powder shadow that will last. I mean, I've had a lot of these for 2 years, if not longer, in terms of like their life, their performance. Not every powder shadow is going to last the same, but $8 for a potted product that takes up way more space in my collection, and then it's not usable in a year. That just felt like, to me, that felt like a really big like marker of ColourPop of like, okay, they're trying to innovate, but they're not letting ideas like sit and be tested
Yeah.
long enough to know if it's actually good and if it's actually worth it. But they don't have to care about that because everything's so affordable.
Yeah. I know. That's kind of how I felt about their all-star liquid shadows, like their version of the Stila ones. Those ended up getting discontinued really quickly.
Yeah.
And you have to wonder.
Yeah, I know. I thought about that too because I was seeing like 1 or 2 shades getting really high reviews, but everything else was kind of getting crappy reviews, and I was just like, I don't want to risk it. Lydia was saying, I was hoping to get some indie singles at Black Friday because international shipping and customs are a lot, but I feel like that might not happen now. Oh, and hi, Christine. I think we don't know what's going to be happening in the world. I still think that brands will be doing some kind of sale. You just might not see the same kinds of sales that you would see last year.
Yeah.
Oh, Angel asked, did you get all the Terra Moon shadows? I found that I shouldn't have because some of them look the same on my eyes.
Yes, Angel, I did get all of the Terra. I'm not proud of it. I split it up between 2 orders because their pre-sale that they did back in February, because I get paid every Friday, so I was able to get some of them in one order and some of them in another order since they extended it through the next Friday. So in total, it was like well over like $100 for everything. But I figured, I like supporting small businesses where I can. And, I had a little bit of extra from, a gift that I had gotten. So I decided to go ahead and get all of them. I do have them here. I placed an order on the Davina website when they opened back up on Friday. I showed this yesterday on Georgia's podcast, but I have this little 6-pan Davina palette that I ordered when they opened up shop, and I put all 6 of my Cosmic Chameleons in here. And I gotta say, I told you, Emily, but I feel like the promo shots that the owner did of the Cosmic Chameleons look a lot more impressive and duochromy and shifty than they do in person. And it could just be me. I could just be doing heavier swatches. I think if you do slightly thinner swatches with not, because these are very pigmented for being like a duochromy, rainbowy type shadow. And so I think that I don't know if the ratio of pigments is different, but yeah, they are very pretty, but I haven't actually had a chance to use them on my eyes yet. So it's more so just a first impressions based on the swatches. But yeah, so in this little 12 pan from Davina, I filled this one up. So the top 2 rows, so these first 2 rows are all of you can't really see the shift on them at all, but the top 2 rows are all of the iridescent chameleons from Terra Moons. And then these bottom ones are shadows that I depotted. So on the topic of like depotting and repanning eyeshadows, this is a repanned eyeshadow. This is the duochromy inner corner shade from the Juvia's Place Tribe palette. And then these 2 middle ones are from the Lunar Beauty the Strawberry Dream palette. And then this little mini one over here is from the Smith & Colt Lilac Flash palette. So I have them in here as like a little temporary home. And I'm really happy that I have them. I was telling Emily earlier on Snapchat that when my boyfriend was here, I like forced him to let me show him how cool the iridescent chameleons are. And he was actually like genuinely impressed. Like I swatched, what was it? I swatched Zero Gravity, this like duochromy purple shade. and he was like, whoa, that's actually like really cool. So for being someone who isn't even remotely into beauty stuff, the fact that he was like, it's almost like a fancy pigment.
So pretty.
Yeah, the fact that he was like, whoa, that's really cool. I was like, okay, maybe it was worth the price tag.
I know I have like in terms of the iridescent chameleons, like I would love the whole collection, but when they did their last pre-order, when you ordered them, and I was like tossing it around in my head, I had narrowed it down. If I was gonna get, if I was gonna get them, I was gonna get 4. I was gonna get Space Baby, Lightyear, Lunar Spectrum, and Red Giant, because those seem like the most unique and different from each other. Because they're not bundled, so there's no like deal in getting the whole set. I was like, maybe I'll start with that, and then I thought about getting the green and the Moontide, the purpley blue Cosmic Chameleons, but now I'm not sure about the Cosmic Chameleons. I'm still just mostly into the iridescent chameleons from Terra Moons.
Yeah, I swatched the green one, and it reminds me of like an apple martini. Like it's that kind of like greeny shade, and it's very appropriate for like springtime for sure. Now that we're kind of heading into this like weird springy season, that's what it looks like right there. It's a little washed out, but it is very, very cute. It will probably pair well with like the neon greens that are in the Tribe palette that I repressed.
The color that I just thought of, speaking of Sydney Grace, is Tempest from Sydney Grace.
Ooh.
It's not shifty, but it's extremely bright. And it's like a very, the Terra Moon are those, they look like they're like a dense kind of shimmer. Is that like kind of one of those wet feeling shimmers? Is that pretty accurate?
To how the Terra Moons ones feel?
Yeah.
They don't quite feel wet, but they do feel, they feel like a dense shimmer.
Yeah, so that's kind of what this one feels like too. It's kind of similar.
Yeah.
Naomi was just saying, Hubs is pretty impressed with the Cleona multi-chromes, especially after I told him cosmetics and the auto industry are basically the innovator, the technology. So that's cool. That's cool. True. Yeah, the paints that they use on cars that have like basically all the different multi-shifts are kind of where that came from.
Yeah. And I know that you were considering or that you were also looking into the sugar drops collection. Yeah. And I think as far as usability, even though I haven't used the Terra Moons on my eyes just yet, I do think that the Terra Moons are going to be more user friendly because the sugar drops are so flaky. Yeah. They're very flaky, kind of crumbly. Like, I don't even think that they would work as well if you just sprayed your brush. Like, they really need to be put over a glitter.
Well, that's all I do. I only use glitter glue. I don't spray my brush. So, like, that's why I've been like, maybe I'll get, that was the other thing I was going to do is I thought about getting a couple of the sugar drops and not getting the whole collection. Because I know Amy talked about how they look similar. So I actually thought about reaching out to her and being like, hey, Amy, if you had to pick like half the sugar drop collection, what would you pick out as like what looks the most unique? Only because she specifically said that. But like I'm so used to using the Divina, their candy exploders, which are like those 3 in this specific palette, and they are really like flaky, and they don't even look, and my lighting is terrible right now, so they don't even look that impressive when I swatch them, but when I put them over glitter glue, they're like extremely shifty. Like the one I just touched is like blue to green. So I know that Divina, I don't know the sugar drops formula, but I know they tend to have more of a flaky shimmer, so I might try it, the sugar drops.
This is what my sugar drops looks like for anyone in the chat who wanted to see them.
Make you big again.
Yeah. So if I had to pick, I think Gumballs, which is this like yellowy green one, is probably one of my favorites. it looks more yellow in the pan, but when you actually swatch it, it actually shifts to like more of like a yellowy green color. And so I have a look with this up on my Instagram. I wore it with the, there we go.
Ooh, that's so pretty.
That one's really, really cool. I don't have anything remotely like this. I didn't have like a very intense yellowy green, like inner corner shade that I really liked. So I used this in conjunction with the red, the yellow, and the orange from the Fun Size palette. That was a really, really pretty look. I wore it with just mascara and I absolutely loved it. Other favorite would probably be, I think Amy would probably say that Shuggies is a really good one too.
Yeah, that one seems pretty.
Yeah, it's this one right here. You can really see it. You can see it a little bit. It looks tealy aqua in the pan, but it has a really strong like pinky shift. Yeah. So I'll swatch it next to Gumballs and hopefully you can see it. Right there, it's right there.
That's so pretty.
Yeah. That one is really, really beautiful. I like that one a lot. When you swatch it out, you can see sometimes when I wear it on the inner corner, it looks a little bit more pink than it does teal, but then in certain special lighting, you can see that it's actually a very duochrome shade.
Nice.
And then as far as like the pinky shades go, I think that's where you get a lot of repetition. So all three of these down here are some form of like a pinky purple, and then same with these two. So like this one and the one in the middle. The one that I have the biggest dent in because I did it by accident is the shade in the middle. And I think this one is either Cavity or, no, this is Taffy Bomb. So the middle shade that I have is Taffy Bomb. And I will give you a little finger swatch. It's right there on my index. You can see a little bit. It comes off very lilac on the skin. So it's this one.
Okay.
Here.
It's interesting because now I can see the teal more in the middle shade.
Once
you like, added the second one, or the third one.
That one's, I really like that one too. I don't know if you like, I don't know. Do you feel like you are looking for more like of a specific color family? Like, do you think that you would want more of like pinky, purpley shades, or do you think that you would want more like aqua bluey, cooler purpley shades?
I think what I'm gonna do once because I went through, so I have one. There've been a couple of comments. I thought it was interesting. Angel said she prefers the sugar drops better than the Terra Moon. That's interesting. And Lydia, I think I watched Karen Harris. Maybe I didn't watch that Karen Harris video, but she said Karen Harris did a video recently with the sugar drops. She was able to show the differences better than most videos I've seen. Okay.
Yeah.
And then I wanted to welcome Caitlin. Caitlin, hi, I'm Caitlin, and I'm not a single eyeshadow connoisseur, but I'm watching this anyway because please teach me your ways. Also, you're in my favorite discords, my half cousins discord. So welcome, and hey, Kara.
Hey.
And I just want to say, Christine says I've never tried Divina, but those are beautiful. I think Divina is worth it for the Galaxy Dust formula, the Candy Exploder formula, or the sugar drop formulas.
Yeah.
I don't particularly find their regular metallics that special, and I don't love their matte formula myself, but the newer products they've come out with, I feel like in the last year, I really love. And then in terms of inner corner, what I'm going to do, so I've been in the process of swatching all my single eyeshadows. Once I do that, I think I'm actually going to build an inner corner palette the way you did, the way Amy has done.
Yeah.
So I can see all my like palest iridescent colors together and then figure out if I'm going to buy more, what colors actually I want to buy. Because I definitely don't need any more icy blues. Wait, let me actually go back to, I don't need any more icy blues because I have like a whole row of them.
Yeah.
Don't need any more of those, but I'm always down for greens and pinks and purples. But I should put them all together in a palette so I can actually see them and be able
Yeah.
to compare when I go to order somebody from somewhere if I'm going to. Oh, V just said, I just made a Terra Moon order after Georgia's stream last night and want to get some of the sugar drops. Nice.
Oh, V, I'm really curious because I know that I remember that you asked about it in the chat with Georgia's stream yesterday. I'm curious what shades you ended up picking up because I know that they are pricey and that for a lot of people, it's probably better to get them just a couple at a time instead of being a monster like me who just got them all at the same time.
Also, Kara said magnetic palettes on Shop Miss A are on sale. Those are my favorite little 9-pan palettes. I have some over here. I'm just going to grab and get all awkward with the camera. Sorry. These are their like 9-pan size. And
oh, cute.
They do all different kinds of patterns. And of course, there's no divider inside, but they do have a mirror.
Yeah.
And they're like a laminated cardboard, so they don't get, they get dirty on the inside, but the outside stays okay. And I know Kara also said she also forgets about her single eyeshadows. For me, if I make little palettes, especially the 9-pan size, I will actually, I will make a palette and then grab for it for a week or maybe 2 weeks, just so I have curated colors, because I'm an eyeshadow hoarder, so I have a lot of colors. And so I don't, outside of my, I'm just going to show this beauty off. Outside of my yellow green palette, I don't often just reach into a color story like that. Those are my yellows and greens.
Oh, it's so pretty.
My favorite colors for eyeshadow.
Yeah.
Oh, and this is, wait, is this the one I wanted to show? Actually, yeah, I think this is. I have them right next to each other. The two colors in my collection that I think are closest to the Jackie Aina color that you're super into.
Yeah.
Which is, what is this name? Asteria from Davina and Toadstool from Cleona.
Yeah.
They definitely have, I think, a little bit more red to them than hers, but they have that brown-green shift, and they both kind of shift. Well, the Davina one shifts like a third color to red. So they're both awesome, though.
Yeah, I think going back to what someone else was saying in the chat about Lydia, when she talked about Karen Harris's video, I also feel like when you have shades like the Terra Moons ones or like the sugar drops, you for sure see a much stronger pop against someone with a deeper skin tone than someone who's really light like me. It's so much more, it's so different. Like actually, I swatched my iridescent chameleon shadows on my grandma, who is more tan than me, and they glowed off of her arm. It was mind blowing. I'm like, how does this stuff exist? It's amazing.
Nice. One of my favorite posts from Davina is, I think it was one of the Galaxy formula and one of the Candy Exploder formula swatched on a white or on skin, and also swatched on black, so you could see how strong the difference was. Also, V got Red Giant, Zero Gravity, and Space Baby. Grab one of the neons and 2 of the extreme multi-chromes. The urge to be a monster is real, but I think I was responsible with my choices. That seems like a nice variety.
Yeah.
That's my thing. If I'm going to order from a new brand like Terra Moon, I would probably want to throw in maybe one of their mattes or maybe one of their normal shimmers, just to try it out, because they do have some pretty shimmers on their site that are not $15 each.
Yeah.
And hey, Audra says yes, melanin. Yes. Oh, I know. There's so many. I'm trying to think of who else is on my wish list, or what else is on my wish list.
Yeah.
I feel like Oh, Emily just said, I ordered the Exploders. I'm so freaking excited. I'm also a huge Roald Dahl fan. So the fact that it was Willy Wonka related made me squee with joy. I have to agree. I loved his books growing up, and I also love that movie, the like original old one. Oh no, I haven't talked about Lethal yet. Emily just said I just popped in late. Have you talked about Lethal singles yet?
Oh my god. We were just talking about this morning.
We were just talking about this morning. So if I had to throw out like my favorite matte formulas and my favorite shimmer formulas, Lethal is my top favorite matte formula. Sydney Grace is my second favorite, I think, right now. Shimmers is kind of everything we've talked about. JD Glow, Davina, Cleona, although Cleona I'm kind of hit and miss with. Not all of them. I just had one. I had one iffy experience. But the Lethal matte shadows are my absolute favorite mattes that I think I've ever worked with within a built out palette or as single shadows. They are a more powdery formula. So if you're like if you're looking for colored rain, like intense formula, that's not it, but they're buildable and I like that. Some of their greens are my favorite. I know I've showed you this one before, but Relapse, which is this like weird yellowy green.
Yeah.
Probably not gonna be good for anybody with much melanin in their skin, unfortunately. But that doesn't mean they don't have other colors that are amazing.
Yeah. I only have 6 of them. I ordered 2 at first.
Mm-hmm.
I got a matte blue, like a sky blue. I think it's Remedy. And then I got a shimmery sky blue. I think it's Ascension. And then they had a sale around sometime last summer where they had free shipping on orders over 25. And I think I got 4 of them. So I got Petrichor, and then I got such a good teal. That was like the gateway into teal. I hated teal before then.
Yes.
And then Petrichor totally made me change my mind. And then I got, this was like around the time they had released their spring collection. So the 8 shadows that they released for spring, I got the duochromy purple. I think it's called Enigma. And then I also have Vapor. It was one of their like turquoisey shades. And then I got the shimmery teal that was in that collection. I totally forget what that one's called.
Yeah, I got that pinky purple one that you were just talking about.
Yeah.
Here. Yeah, there you go. You can see it.
It's just okay. I think that one could have been a little bit better.
So I don't think their shimmers are anything to write home about. They're fine. They're good quality, but they don't do it for me the way somebody else mentioned Kaleidos in the chat. The way Kaleidos shimmers do it for me. Again, JD Glow, Davina, anybody else. Like they're good, but their mattes are really where it's at. And for somebody that lately I haven't been using a lot of mattes in my looks. I tend to go shimmer heavy. To still love them says a lot. Like I've gone in on so many of my colors, especially the greens. So
is that Recluse?
Yes.
Oh, that's totally on my wish list. I think
it's great. It's like a more greeny paper tiger.
I after seeing Amy's M Cosmetics video, oh my gosh, we swatched all of their matte shadows. They look so beautiful. And the fact that she said that they make her favorite indie matte formula was like, okay, I was like side-eyeing it a little bit because I know that you and Teresa and Lacey all are in the lethal camp when it comes to best matte formula. So I'm like very, very curious to get, well, one, I want to get more lethal mattes just in general because their color stories and their selection of shadows is really unique compared to a lot of other indie brands matte shadows that I've seen. But the M Cosmetics one are also on my list of ones that I want to try. I think they just announced that they were going to take a break though because of the outbreak.
Yeah, they've been on my list for a while. I even think some of their shimmers look nice. Like,
No, I still can't hear. No, I still can't hear. No,
Can you hear me now? Okay. My phone decided to just not work right now.
Oh no.
Oh no, wait. Okay. I feel like there's always a part of time in the chat in the live where my phone is just like, well, I know what happened is that I had an alarm set, and so I think that just messed up the live stream a little bit.
I see.
And as you can see, the lighting on my laptop is absolute trash. So
Totally okay.
it's like, it looks like a fine camera when I have it open as a camera, but when I have it working as like video, it does this. So, but yeah, M Cosmetics, those mattes do look really nice, I have to say.
Yeah.
They look, I'm not sure what I'd want to buy, but they're on my list. They were on my list for this year, in terms of a brand I wanted to check out.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask for the chat, are there any brands you're interested in or have on your wish list or want to hear thoughts from us if we've used them? Since you mentioned Lethal. Or anything on your wish list as well, Alex, besides M?
Oh yeah. I have a folder that I have all of my wish list things saved on for Instagram, and a few things that have caught my attention. I have the Artist Couture nude palette. It looks very, very pretty for a neutral palette, and even though I have plenty of neutrals and I for sure have a lot of neutral singles and like pre-made palettes, there's something about that size where it seems like it's a good size. And I like the number of shadows. It's not too overwhelming. And I like that there's like a grungy, greeny kind of undertone running through all of them that makes it a little more unique than your standard neutral palette. So that's one of them for me.
Yeah, that grungy green, especially the one army green, is the reason why that palette looks attractive to me.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Angel says she's only been able to get 2 of the M, but they were very similar to Sydney Grace. That's a good thing to know then. Oh, shipping to Canada kills you. Yeah, I keep hearing that about a lot of different indie brands. Well, when M Cosmetics opens back up, they're a Canadian-based brand, so that could be good for anybody that's based there. Is there anything on my wish list right now? I have Indie Makeup Spotlight open actually right now. Let's see what we have. Huh. Somebody made like this almost reminds me of the Give Me Glow Vintage Rose palette.
A little bit, yeah, but without the greens.
I know, without the greens that make it so nice. Oh, Adept. Adept is on my wish list.
Yeah.
So they just recently revamped their formula, and I would love to try their diamond formula and their shimmers, basically. I've heard their mattes are nice, but I've also heard their mattes are kind of tricky to work with from somebody else.
Yeah. How do you feel about the whole like round pans versus square pan single shadow thing?
I mean, I think as long as they're the same size. So like I have all my menagerie palettes depotted, and then I have lethal, and then I have all my round pans. I can mix those within like the same 9-pan palette and they all fit. But mixed within one palette. They're not the prettiest, but I'm kind of just trying to get over that and just think about the shadows I'm actually interested in. Do you have like a preference in terms of the two?
Well, I think with the whole repanning project, I think it's definitely leaned more towards 26 millimeter round pans.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty standard for a lot of single shadows. I think they tend to come in that size. And it's nice to have, like, especially with these like Divina palettes and stuff, to have like the individual slots and to have a size that fits into them is nice. I do commend brands like Lethal and Adept though, because I know that with square pans, not a lot of people, I mean, some people, it's interesting how much of a topic of conversation this has become. Like, I think about people getting kind of salty when Makeup Geek did their rebranding and they're now in square pans, even though they are still the same, like, diameter. Like, they're still 26 millimeters. They're just a square. So I don't know why it seemed like so many people wanted to riot about the square pans. But
I thought they were.
I prefer round pans.
I had aesthetic issues with the Makeup Geek ones because they're the rounded corner square pans, and I just think they're kind of ugly. So like Menagerie kind of has rounded corners, whereas Lethal is more like true square. My other reason why I think people were so upset is because this is my take on it, is that there was so much talk about the rebranding, knew this, knew that, and then they were still packaged in a way where it looked like you were getting old palettes. So like they were new square pans, but they were in palettes that had so much extra space. Whereas, spoiler, I actually succumbed to my Target hype, picked up the little purple one, and there's no spare space in there. So the talk about, well, I made the other palettes with extra space so you can get your shadows out, to me was just garbage, because I'm like, but you didn't do it for your little quads that you're selling that are new. So that was my thing, is that I think there was all this talk about like, oh, well, we're rebranding, but then you get something that just visually doesn't look that nice.
Yeah.
And they are even more rounded than the Menagerie ones. So they don't look bad here, but I think in the bigger palettes where there was all this extra space, it kind of looked, I don't know. I didn't think it looked very nice, personally.
Yeah.
But I also had a little bit of a bias because I was never that connected to that brand. That's like the second thing I bought from them. So
other things on my wish list, I'm really curious about that new Youth to the People enzyme scrub. That seems pretty cool.
Oh, yeah.
And then the Natasha Denona mini retro palette looks like it could be a little ashy looking, but some swatches look a little bit more saturated than others, so it's kind of hard to tell. I know Ashley Clady did a video using it. I haven't watched hers yet. Both Persona blushes are on my wish list. Mostly the cooler toned, like mauvey pink one, because I don't have anything like it. But with all our talk in the Half Cousins Discord, it's like there's so much beautiful blush in the world, and a part of me, like, I really don't need another blush. But at the same time, like, I'm finally going, like, I'm in my renaissance with blushes. Like, I'm wearing a very, very glowy baked blush from e.l.f. that I hadn't used in a long time. And I was like, I have so many blushes, so many damn blushes that I'm not even using, that I feel bad at the thought of trying to get either the Persona one or the Cover FX one.
I'm with Christine. I think I want to dupe out. Well, the retro palette doesn't tempt me because I'm not really into the grays. So, and the two shimmery pinks are both pretty, but they look so similar.
Yeah.
And there's not really depth. Like, I don't like the idea of blending out a pink with a gray. So, like, I get why it's cute. And for $25, I don't blame anybody for getting it. But I don't think it's like quite perfect. But I will say, I'm with you on blush. So what I'm wearing today is the you probably won't be able to see it very well, but is the Nabla. This is the Truth color. It's the Skin Glazing Highlight.
Mm-hmm.
If anybody's looking for glowy blush or glowy blush topper, this is really pretty. I would wait for it to go on sale. Go on sale again. But this is a really pretty glowy blush. But yeah, and then yeah, I'm all about the blush right now. It's kind of a problem.
Yeah.
Um,
On the topic of blush,
oh,
the M
Naomi.
Cosmetics blush in Magic Hour is a very nice formula. I think Faded Clementine is a little bit of a weird orangey tan kind of tint to it. I think it would work best for people with like medium to deep skin tones, because the way I've seen it look on more fair skin tones, it looks a little odd. But
Yeah.
the last thing on my wish list is the new liquid blushes from Ciate. Have you seen them?
Oh, no, I haven't even seen those.
Yeah, if you go to the Trend Instagram, or no, the Beauty News Instagram, they talked about it, and then Dupe That also posted some swatches of them this morning.
Right.
They have 4 different shades. My only thing is that they're fragranced, and I don't like strong fragrances on my skin.
Wait, are they towards the top? Skin gloss from Dominique Cosmetics.
I meant to say Beauty News.
Oh, Beauty News. You said that. Yeah. I just realized one blush that's on my wish list because of Lacey are the Buxom. She was describing them as like cream to powder, basically, blushes.
Those with the hot pink background.
Oh. Huh. Okay.
Yeah.
Have you tried the Flower Beauty or Milani cream blushes at all?
Yes, I have the lightest shade of the Flower Beauty one in Pinched.
Okay.
Yeah, that one, it took me a while to start liking it, and I think it's because I didn't like the way that it looked applied with my fingers, and I also didn't like how it looked on me applied with a sponge.
Yeah.
I got the ColourPop brush roll for Black Friday, the one that came in the pink one with the white bristles. And there's a brush in there, I think it's the F20, that's like a dense domed blush brush. And for picking up and distributing cream products on the skin, it works beautifully. And it's so funny because Natalie Brow talked about it in her Instagram stories yesterday, that it was like the perfect cream blush brush. And I'm like, yes, more people need to talk about this. It
was funny because I think you mentioned it in your story, or you mentioned it to me, and then I saw it in Bad to the Brow story, and I was going to ask you if they were the same, but then I forgot. So that's funny that you said that.
Yeah, they are the same.
I need to see. I bought the Palest Flower Beauty one, but I might have decluttered it because when I got it, I wasn't comfortable with cream blushes, and I felt like it was a little too like sheer and maybe serum like or gel. I wasn't as into it, but this was like 6, 8, 10 months ago, something like that, in that range. So I don't know if I would be. I'm not as drawn to higher end tube cream blushes myself. I feel like, I don't know, it's something about it doesn't feel high end outside of maybe the obnoxiously expensive Charlotte Tilbury blushes, but they just don't feel high end. Whereas like something about a compact feels a little bit more high end, even though that can dry out faster. So I don't know, it's just weird.
I mean,
and it's also a comfort thing.
Yeah, the M Cosmetics serum blushes, I think, nail it with the luxe feeling packaging, because their bottles are glass and then it comes with a dropper. Although the dropper is like kind of useless. It doesn't work the greatest at actually picking up product. And yeah, that one feels a lot more luxe, and it's like in the $20-ish range. I think it's like 22, 23. And even though the bottle is like super, super tiny, I do feel like it kind of gives that luxe feeling that squeezy tube blushes just don't have. Yeah.
Oh, Angel had a question. If the brush is within reach, can you show what it looks like?
Yes. 1 second.
And we'll probably, once she gets the brush, we'll probably have to wrap it up because I have a video call dinner date with some friends and I don't want to leave them hanging. But I could do a live all day, every day. And I hope y'all are enjoying it, even though it kind of started out on a different foot. Sorry that my volume is low or off. I need to figure out this live stream thing on my phone. My apologies.
Okay, so this is what the brush looks like. It is the F20, and I believe you can only get it in the brush roll. Because they discontinued a bunch of their makeup brushes in their last call announcement, they might end up releasing this as a standalone brush. So if you didn't want the other brushes in the brush roll, which I think they're really good, you could probably get it by itself, but it's not super, super wide, but it's a little bit domed, and it's not the most dense, but it's more dense than a lot of like more flimsy blush brushes. So I like using it a lot for picking up liquid or serum blushes off the back of my hand and kind of pouncing it in. And then if I feel like it's a little bit too glowy, I can pick up some of the excess with a sponge. And then this is the other brush that came in that same set. It's more of like an angled brush, kind of a similar surface area. This one's a little bit slimmer and longer. This one is the one that I used today. It's good for picking up like more glowy blushes and kind of like buffing it out and getting that pearl to shine through. And then it's also good for more pigmented blushes if you want a lighter application. So these are two good blush brushes.
And that noise, if anybody heard it, was my call. So I need to wrap it up right now. But we should do this live streaming thing again, Alex. And like I said, I'll get my phone situated so that I can stream properly. Yeah, anytime you want to. And if y'all like the single eyeshadow indie makeup topic, let me know, or we can talk about other makeup stuff, especially blush, because that's fun.
Oh my God, yeah.
Thank you for everybody for tuning in and hanging out and interacting, and I hope y'all are all taking care of yourself. Thank you, Alex, for streaming with me. And you should all go check out Alex on Instagram. I'll try to re-story one of her posts today in my story so you can easily find her. And we collabed, which is like one of probably my most recent posts. So go follow.
Thank you. Have a good night, Emily. I hope you
have a good night. Friends. Yes. Have a good night to everybody. I'll see you all soon. Bye.
Bye.
Okay.